Please start.
Good evening to everyone. I am Dr. Meenu Vashishta Huja, and I am the coordinator for the Green IVF team. I warmly welcome all of you for this first CME webinar we are conducting for the Green IVF Brigade. For our common future, we must nurture nature. We must create a balance between economic and ecological well-being. As healthcare providers, as IVF experts, can we possibly do something? Yes, we can. And it is the need of the hour. We must take steps to introduce sustainability into ART practices. IFS has embarked on a novel pioneering initiative of Green IVF. It aims to bring forth the idea of sustainability in ART and steps to practically execute at the ground level. The seed of the idea was sown by our president, IFS, Professor Colonel Pankaj Talwar, in December last year. Thereafter, in January 2025, the core team, comprising of our Secretary General, Dr. Shweta Mittal ma'am, Dr. Ritu Khanna, Dr. Bharti Dhore Patil ma'am, Dr. Shalini, Dr. Sarabjit Singh, Dr. Bindu Chimote ma'am, Dr. Anchal Agarwal, Dr. Yogesh, Dr. Manisha Vajpayee, all came together. And then each of us reached out to our various colleagues across the country. And we, created a team which currently stands as of 57 members. And we have 9 Green IVF teams today. And today, we are honored to have our mentor here with us, Dr. Sonia Malik ma'am, to preside over our first webinar. And the first webinar we conduct today is going to bring forth the ideation of the concept. Our speakers of the day are all geared up. And I would, at the outset, like to invite our Secretary General, Dr. Shweta Mittal ma'am, to please officially initiate with a welcome. Shweta ma'am, over to you, ma'am. I'm muted.
Good evening, everyone. And thank you, Dr. Meenu. This is a brilliant initiative and I think idea. Even the thought process, which has been initiated by our president, Dr. Pankaj Talwar, sir. We couldn't have thought about it. It is such a thought-provoking, a stand, an initiative. There are so many things which we may be practicing in our lives, which could be sustainable, which could be making our environment better. But then on the other hand, there could be so many things in our hospital practices, in our healthcare practices, which could be, and which are there, which we can improve ourselves and we can maybe make our world a better place for all of us and for our future generations to work with. So I remember the moment this idea was floated by Sir and how quickly he initiated, got all the teams made, had the first meeting, and then many more meetings, and how quickly WhatsApp groups were made. And then he ensured every day the message was floated in the groups. Every day the leaders and the members were actively participating. And I think it's not even been 15-20 days and we are launching. I mean, it was already launched on 7, but we are here gathered together and trying to learn also ourselves and trying to see that how we can put forward and in future how to make ourselves better, our IVF practices better, our hospital cares and all our clinics practices are sustainable and a better way for our future. So I think I welcome everyone and I hand it over to Sir or Dr. Meenu, you want to take it over?
I, of course, would like to invite our president, IFS, to give his vision of the Green ART program. And we all know we don't really have to talk about his stature and so stage is all yours.
Okay. So big hello to everyone and thank you so much, Shweta. It can't happen without you. You know it. You're working behind the scene. And thank you so much for agreeing to this project of ours, which we are going pan-India, maybe global in some time. Thank you so much, Dr. Sonia ma'am. Thank you so much, Bharti ma'am, for being with us. Couldn't happen without your blessings. Now, as this idea came to our mind, what my thought is about the whole thing is that what you see is a little vision on the screen. This is our IVF Green Brigade. So once you look at this picture, there you can see some pictures on the screen. There are 9 teams. Every team has got some defined role to play. And this is the different parts which we are covering. We are talking about green, sustainable IVF fundamentals, designing clinical perspectives, low-cost IVF, biomedical-based disposal, and many other things. So this is a green team which would be steering us through for the next 1 year plus, and then for times immemorial as IFS keeps growing. This may be a little vision in front of you, but the vision is not everything. We've got a big mission behind it. And this is what actually I was very much deeply touched by Dr. Sonia Malik's talk in a meeting at Fertivision, where she spoke about Made in India. And the same day I had this little oration on green IVF. So everything came together. So my mission behind the whole vision which you see here is to make India Saksham, make India golden, Swarnim, and make India independent, at least in IVF services or ART services, and later on onto the whole hospitality. Imagine the day when we can make our own plastics, which we're already making, but we are shy to use them. You know, around 15 years back, when the basic idea of Indian drugs came, which is Indian recombinant FSH, no one looked at even them. Everyone wanted to buy some imported brands which were recombinant. We never trusted Indian brands. And it took around 5 or 6 years by the time they got their marketing clearances from the government of India. And now around, I think 70% market or 80% of the market is on Indian hormones. I think coming few days, we'll be having Indian-made medias, Indian-made plastics, Indian disposables, everything Indian. And once we do it, what happens? Once we make everything Indian, a very nice thing happens, that we start importing things from outside. When import stops, then we are having minimal utilization of their transportation. We are having recycling, which we can easily do. And that will be the time when we reduce our carbon footprint, about which all of you are going to talk today. I won't go to that, and I'll take you to what our plan is. You can see our teams here. Every team has got 2 team leaders, which are equal here. Nobody is senior or junior. 2 team members are equal. And yes, definitely by age, we may be senior, but we all are working together, holding each other's hand. This particular CME is on ideation. Ideation means that here we are starting our thought process. And the next CME will be on execution. Today, all the speakers who are present here, a big gratitude to all of you. It's not easy to spare your valuable time to be here. And see, we are 80 people here in the CME. So thank you so much for being with us. So today we have the following speakers. As you can see on the screen, we have got Dr. Ritu, Yuvraj, Shweta, Bharti, Shalini, Sarabpreet, Yogesh, Anchal, Bindu madam, and Dr. Meenu. That's the team for today. And then the next meeting, just on execution. How do we execute our ideas will be this. That meeting we have got Dr. Vidhu, Manisha, Dr. Lavleen Sodhi, Neha, Rajvi, Pooja, Shilpa, Sangeeta, and Meenu. That's the way we're going to move on. An important point which I want to bring to your notice is that it's not only doing these 2 meetings. The third meeting, this meeting will be on 11th of March, as you can see on the screen. After this, we'll go on proper execution. We will be having 5 green IVF labs in the country, for which you can suggest the name of the labs. We'll have 5 in every part of the country. Zone-wise, we'll have 5 green IVF labs, where we'll be applying our knowledge and try to see what would be the carbon footprint before we start and how we can reduce it. We are in touch with the people to start with some amount of experimentation and research and confidence building measures of using Indian plastics. They are pretty good quality. I won't show some percentages here, which I have, but large number of corporates are using Indian-made plastics. So how to bring it to the grassroots level where all of us we can use it to build the confidence is another point agenda we have, and they are a huge carbon burden on the in our RIT clinics. So this is where I am, and after this we'll be having a lot of NGOs coming into play. We'll have a lot of pharma companies coming into play. With every group, as you can see here, we have got these groups we have. So we'll have everyone supporting the teams. We'll have pharma teams and NGOs, manufacturing units, HVAC makers, people who make infra, they'll come into play. Embryology, which is being done by Sarpreet and Pooja, is a very important role. Cryobiology, Yogesh and Shilpa, they are the basic backbone of any IVF lab, and they generate the maximum biomedical waste. How to handle them, they'll be deciding. And moving on about the ideation part, at this point of time, I'd like to invite our mentor, Dr. Sonia ma'am. We always need her blessings. And we have a plan to release a bulletin every month. We have 9 or 10 months to go before our Fertivision. So we want to release one bulletin every month. And starting this month, we got our bumper bulletin being brought out today. This bulletin has been made with a lot of hard work by Dr. Bindu. She has worked very hard on making that bulletin, Dr. Bindu and her team. So we'll talk about it. Dr. Sonia Malik, everybody knows her, and I think it's my great privilege to read a short CV of hers. She's Chair Advocacy Committee, IFS 2018 to date. She's a past Chair of Fertility Committee, FOXY. She's a past President, IFS, past President of Indian Menopausal Society. Ma'am, please let me read it because we all know about you, but let me also see how much you have achieved. Let everyone know it. A few more minutes, madam. Do allow me. She is an Indian representative to International Menopausal Society, great Indian representative to Asia Pacific Society of Menopause, Indian representative to the World School of Menopause. Menopause she has conquered. Great, madam. It's so much. And she's associate editor of Journal of Global Health, member of editorial committee of Fertility and Sterility India. As you can see, she's achieved so much. And awards, I would like to say, madam is presently Chief Clinical Mentor, Pan Nova Group, Pan India IVF Nova Group, and she's got a lovely center in Delhi. Awards are IMA Kanak Goyal Award 2007, IMA Lifetime Achievement Award 2015, Best Doctor PCPNDT, Cell Delhi. ये बच्चा है जी मैं PCPNDT Award. Then 8th Lifetime Achievement Award, then Haryana OVG Lifetime Achievement Award and IFS Achievement Award 2023. Ma'am, the stage is all yours, and we'll all like to listen from you, ma'am. And after you end, ma'am, you'll be releasing the lovely bulletin which has been made by Dr. Bindu Chimote as a lead this time. Everyone has contributed. You'll be releasing it. So we need your blessings for that, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Can we please remove this CV now? And yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. First of all, let me thank all of you for giving me this honor. And of course, I would like to congratulate Dr. Pankaj, Shweta, Bindu, Meenu, Ritu, where is Bharti, all the seniors as well as Shalini, every one of you for taking up this huge, wonderful project. I really was totally, I would say, zapped to hear that presentation in Fertivision, which Dr. Pankaj Talwar gave on the same topic. I was absolutely not aware of anything like a green IVF, and it was an eye-opener. All of you who have listened to this presentation would agree with me that it was totally astounding to hear what he had put together. And then to happily to execute it so soon. I actually, after congratulating him for his presentation, I said, you must do this. And he said, we have already started. So that was amazing for me to know that something like this is already on the anvils, and it is going to start very shortly. So having all of you together here today and then starting with such a big bang is really something to congratulate all of you about. Coming to the subject of green IVF, when whatever I have written also in the newsletter is actually to relate it with the green revolution that we have had in the country. In the 1960s, this term of green revolution was introduced, and then we all went on to produce all kinds of hybrid seeds, fertilizers, and everything, because we had a huge country to feed so much of population, and we succeeded. We have succeeded. We became self-independent. In fact, we started importing as well. However, it had its downside, and we know that it affected the environment very badly, changing the genetics and epigenetics of the country, as well as affecting our coming generations. I wouldn't say that epigenetics has not been there. Epigenetics has always been there. That is how we emerged from the animals to the human race. There has been a change in the genetics going on over centuries, leading to the evolution of man from the animal species. That has been going on. However, now that we have reached a level where we are so-called evolved human beings, we do not want to change to worse situations, and we do not want our generations to be underscored in any way. Given that, this new term of green revolution, green IVF, has come with much more sanctity. It talks not only about making everything green or making everything environment friendly, it also talks of sustainability. And that is what we are going to, trying to achieve through this green IVF revolution that we are starting in this country. So that is something, this is indeed a great step that IFS has taken to be the first to start something as innovative as a green IVF. And with Pankaj actually telling us that very soon we will be having green IVF labs also across the country, will be a major leap for IVF. I congratulate you all once again, and I do hope that we will see those green labs functioning all across the country as successfully as did the Green Revolution, where they were able to conquer hunger. I hope we will be able to conquer infertility. Thank you so much once again for having me with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. So I'll make an attempt now. Ma'am, this is our newsletter.
Yes.
So gentlemen, ladies, this is, you can see my screen. I hope you can see my screen. It's a green IVF bulletin.
And we just decrease, yes, now it is very well. Yes.
For the green IVF, but I'd like to try to increase, ma'am. This is the PDF, ma'am. And I think now I'd like to invite ma'am to allow us to release a bulletin. I'll just then go through it. I'll just show you the bulletin, ma'am. And if you permit me, I will release it, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Congratulations once again. I think we all need to clap for this. Congratulations, all of us.
So guys, you can go through your WhatsApp message box. It's all there. And I think it's all due to Dr. Bindu Chimote. Bindu ma'am and your team, could you please come on the dais and say a few words with your team? They worked very hard on this, and everyone has worked so hard.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving us an opportunity to work on this. It has been a learning experience. We know we have erred and made a lot of mistakes. Sir had to make quite a few corrections at the last moment, but we have been really fortunate to do this. And I must say, Dr. Rahul Sen has really worked very hard along. I mean, both of us together, and Dr. Charulata Chatterjee. We have worked on this news bulletin, and we are fortunate that we could release it in time today. There may be a few glitches here and there, but yes, I mean, that's there in front of you, and it is all the vision and mission of Dr. Pankaj Talwar that has made it all possible. And I must say, thank all the teams for giving us a good matter. We have taken liberty as editors to edit the matter. We had to scale it down to a large extent, a few additions, a few deletions, so that it could fit into the required pages properly. So we have taken the liberty. Please excuse us if some of your matter was just sliced off. We know you have worked hard in making it possible. So thank you so much to all the teams for giving us the matter, and thank you so much, Dr. Pankaj Talwar sir again, Dr. Shweta Mittal, Dr. Sonia Malik ma'am for making it all possible today. Thank you.
And where is Rahul?
Rahul, if you're there, please.
Hmm.
Rahul has really written this article is mainly the contribution of Rahul. Rahul.
You're honest, Bindu.
Worked very hard. Dr. Bharti Dhore Patil, madam, you are there. You would always like to say a few words, ma'am, quickly, then we'll move on. You're muted, ma'am.
Good.
You're muted, ma'am. You're muted.
It's okay now? Yeah.
Yes.
Good evening, all. Dr. Pankaj Talwar, Dr. Sonia Malik, Dr. Meenu, Dr. Shweta, all. This was a very good, different initiative altogether. It was very thought-provoking, the way you spoke, as Dr. Sonia Malik said, in the effort division. And I remember it was going on in my mind, but I didn't know how the things would work for that. But the way you put the platform and everything was very nice. I think congratulations, and we look forward to work really very hard for this, because mindset to change is very difficult. And that is the most important thing we have to do in this green IVF, because we are all in the illusion. And in that illusion, to come out of that illusion of, say, money, success, fame, all those things are very, very important, and they are very strongly around us. In that, to go for sustainability, then having a low-cost IVF, this all are totally mindset. So let's see how the things will work. But with the team, motivated team like this, I think we will achieve, and we have to do that. So thank you very much for this opportunity to work in this project.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I think we can't thank everyone enough. So my apologies, we can't take all the names, but big gratitude to all of you for being with us. And
Sir,
now, from green,
so sorry to interrupt.
green mind, what madam said, green mind also. Yes, Dr. Bharti.
Sir, if just Rahul can speak one word, I mean.
I want him to speak. Where is Rahul hiding?
Rahul, please.
After this, I hand over the mic back to Dr. Meenu. You have been our pillar of strength. You've worked very hard. I think you deserve a lot of kudos from our side. Big clap from our side. And I think it wasn't possible without you. So much of hard work you have done behind, sitting quietly, you and Shweta, the way you have worked very quietly. Shweta is the Secretary General, so kaam karna hi karna hai. But big hats off.
The learning experience, and I just want blessings from all my seniors.
Shweta and you.
Learning in the process. Sir.
Yes. So I think, Meenu, over to you.
So now let's get started. The first talk of the evening is by Dr. Ritu Khanna ma'am, and she tells us about understanding green sustainable IVF in global net zero norms. So Ritu Khanna ma'am, kindly get the day rolling with your talk, first talk for the evening. Welcome, ma'am.
Yeah. So thank you so much. And first of all, heartiest congratulations. And thank you, Pankaj Talwar sir, for giving us an opportunity to be a part of this visionary project of yours, sir. And I think we were so excited to move to green IVF. And with this, I move on to understanding green sustainable IVF and global net zero norms. Rapid human activity has led to increased greenhouse gas emissions, and that causing a global warming, which is at a noticeable pace in the 21st century. And these changes have serious social, economic, environmental, ecological, and human health consequences. We know that due to deforestation or maybe due to burning of fuels, we have a lot of gases which are trapping the heat from the sun, and therefore the Earth's temperature rises, and we get so many effects like the rising sea levels, extreme weathers, threats to our health, and disruptions into ecosystem. The evidence of global warming is already underway. The concentrations of carbon dioxide has been unmatched for at least 2 million years. Glacial retreat unmatched for 2000 plus years. Last decade warmer was warmer than any other period for 125,000 years. Sea levels rise faster than any prior century for 3,000 years. Summer Arctic ice cover is smaller than any time in the last 1,000, and we have ocean warming, the ocean acidification. So for every 0.5 degrees centigrade of the global temperature rise will cause clearly discernible increases in the frequency and severity of heat extremes, of heavy rainfall, of regional droughts, and that goes on increasing as the degrees of temperatures goes on rising. So the global greenhouse gas emissions can be broken down by so many economic activities that lead to the atmospheric release. For energies, it's 34%, for 24% by industries, and going to transportation and buildings. The global CO2 emissions from all the sectors have significantly increased since 1850. The majority of this increase has resulted from increased fossil fuel consumption and industrial emissions. Agriculture, deforestation, and other land use changes have been the second largest contributors. If we go into the greenhouse gas emissions by country, 2020, the top 10 countries starting from China, United States to Canada and rest of the world stand as 67% of the total greenhouse gas emissions in 2020, and India ranks third in this category. So now if we look at the global temperature change, it's around 1.1 degrees centigrade warmer at 2020 as compared to what it was in 1900. So with this rate, there will be a 0.2 degree rise every decade, and the future experiences would depend on how we are going to address this climate change now. So if it's going to cross the danger step points in the climate system, it can trigger a self-amplified feedbacks, and therefore they're going to be substantial, abrupt, irreversible changes to the climate system if the warming reaches between 2 degrees and 3 degrees centigrade. Ironically, the health sector is a major contributor to the DHT emissions and associated adverse health effects. The data are startling. Healthcare without harm, the carbon footprint of the sector is 4.4% of the global net emissions, with USA, China, European Union, which are the 3 top emitters. The assisted reproductive technology as a specialty within this larger health sector has its own heavy carbon footprint. It's via the laboratory, it's via the clinical operations. The IVF laboratories are highly specialized spaces with sophisticated and energy-intense air handling systems, and often they are left running continuously. The human gamete, the embryo culture, you're using single-use plastics, and these plastics come in heavily packed to protect their integrity and sterility. Many IVF laboratories still generate paper records and paper waste. Large quantities of specialty gases are being used for incubators and the liquid nitrogen for cryopreservation of the reproductive tissues. Transportation of these cylinders and the tanks is entirely fossil fuel dependent. Environmental degradation by human activity imparts reproductive health, imparts a lot of effect on the reproductive health, which includes our fertility, which includes pregnancy, fetal development, and this can reach across multiple generations. The plastics, the microplastics, and the product of the breakdown are environmental pollutants, and they enter the body through inhalation, ingestion, skin contact, and they're going to threaten the human fertility, being endocrine disrupting properties that they have. So recently detected in the human placental tissue and a possible association with adverse birth and development outcomes. Looking at the clinical side of IVF, that's also carbon footprint heavy. The stainless steel oocyte retrieval needles, the Teflon tubing, the silicone stopper, the embryo transfer catheters, and also the heavy use of disposable personal protective equipment, and also the clinical laboratory testing. So that each treatment cycle is energy intense and therefore creates large quantities of waste. Looking ahead, we need to limit the global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees. But is it possible? Yes, it's still possible, but only if we act immediately. The world needs to peak GHG emissions before 2025. At the very latest, nearly half the GHG emissions by 2030 and reach the net zero CO2 emissions around the mid-century. So all hands on the deck approach now. to net zero emissions. And that means that the net carbon emissions released into the atmosphere is balanced by the amount of the carbon removed. So we need a two-part approach. Human-caused emissions need to be reduced, and remaining emissions balanced with an equivalent amount of the carbon removal by whatever means that we could think of. The average carbon footprint for a person in the United States is 16 tons, and that's one of the highest rates in the world. If we look at it globally, the average carbon footprint is close to 4 tons. To have the best chance of avoiding a 2 degrees centigrade rise in the global temperature, the average global footprint per year needs to drop to under 2 tons by 2050. So lowering individual carbon footprints from 16 tons to 2 tons doesn't happen overnight. So now we're going to start by making small changes to our actions. We can start making it a big difference. So therefore, we envision towards a green transformation in the ERT practices. And that's going to move towards sustainability, fulfilling our obligation to the society, ensuring a better future for the patients we treat, the lives we help to create, and the next generations of ERT practitioners. So to ensure a livable and sustainable future for all, we need a great focus on adapting to green IVF. Thank you so much for that patient hearing.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You've clocked 7 minutes and 20 seconds, so very much within time. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation, ma'am. The second speaker for the day is Dr. Yuvraj Jadeja, and he speaks on designing sustainable green ART clinics to reduce environmental load. Dr. Yuvraj.
Yeah. Hi, good evening, everyone.
Welcome, Dr. Yuvraj.
Good evening. Good evening. Can I share this?
Can you lower your TV, your camera a
Yeah,
little?
ma'am.
Can't
Yes,
see your
thanks.
face properly. Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone, respected seniors and all my dear colleagues. Thank you so much to Pankaj sir, Shweta ma'am, and especially Manisha, who's our team leader, for giving me this opportunity. My topic is designing sustainable green ART clinic to reduce environmental load. And, strangely, something new, interesting, and lot of learning process while making the presentation. So in the recent light, I think the recent United Nations COP27 climate change conference was something that, pointed out the impact of human activity. And on top of it, it said that it is widely accepted now that climate crisis is now a healthcare crisis. And that's why it's not only the onus of the general population, but more so the onus of the doctors per se to move forward. I think for the entire initiative and this webinar and the webinars to fall into future, there were so many terminologies, there are medical terminologies, but these were environmental terminologies and sustainability terminologies that I think we need to be aware of. The most important is the carbon footprint that we all know, which is the total greenhouse gas emissions that are responsible for all these activities, decarbonization, that is process of reducing the amount of carbon load. Very important is greenhouse gases. Which are the greenhouse gases, and few names that we should know. Greenwashing is another terminology, which is misleading or deceptive actions or claims made by an organization, so that I think that's very important, because once you project yourself as a sustainable clinic, you need to be sure that you're actually a sustainable clinic. In this world of social media and awareness, you can easily be cancelled out. Net zero is something that you need to know. Paris Agreement is the recent agreement that provides the international treaty of providing framework. So moving ahead, ma'am, I think Ritu ma'am already pointed out the 4.4% load of healthcare. And what I interestingly came across is out of the entire load, 0.5%, there's a assessment that 0.5% of this load may be contributed by in vitro fertilization process itself, because I think more and more sustainability conferences and teams are now recognizing the heavy use of disposable materials that ART institutes and per se doctors kind of use. We always thought that that was the right way to go because of necessity of and the demand of our field itself. But then still, where is it that we might be able to help ourselves and change? It's not that doctors haven't been trying, quickly history, how incinerators were kind of banned. We went into the whole idea of how they were producing toxic chemicals. Blood bags were changing. A lot of things have changed throughout time. Why is it important? Cycles, IVF cycles are rising, so is our carbon footprint. And more importantly, what I realized is that the patients are becoming more and more aware regarding, we've all started using organic face creams and we've started using environmental friendly products. We try to take care of these little things. It's only time that hospitals and selections of hospital by patients will also come to a point where people will start using it. And very interestingly, I was talking to Manisha and I realized that there was this patient, I think 6 to 7 months back, who we had delivered, who works in one of the sustainability institutes. And he had the last few lines where you can say that he just sent a thank you note, and I asked him for suggestion and it said, "Doc, can I suggest you something? Can you please change your coffee mugs from plastic to disposable mugs or ceramic mugs?" And this was almost 6 months back, and that made me realize, and it's so pertinent to today's topic, that more and more patients are going to ask and look forward for sustainable. We are already looking in dermatology, we are already looking in other fields, in implants, and now it's only time where IVF will also be under their scrutiny. As healthcare practitioners, why is it important? Because it is definitely affecting human fertility itself. So it's a paradigm that we are fertility specialists and we are not looking into carbon footprint, which in case is increasing infertility. So it is only an onus. Most of the time when we talk about designing, we only look into the laboratory aspects, but it'll be very surprising when I realize that there are so many small things that we as ART clinics in outpatients can do. Here are the two reference points that I used in designing. One, India itself has its ISO energy management guidelines, and then there are multiple international guidelines such as LEED Platinum guidelines, etc., which you can go for. So how do you build an ART clinic or design an ART clinic? One, you need to be energy efficient, use energy efficient technology, install energy efficient technology to reduce energy costs, use renewable sources. Many clinics today in our country have started using solar panels to reduce carbon emissions. Initially it's a cost per se, but in long term you only save electricity, and it's also very cost efficient. It needs to start right from the architectural design. It needs amount of window, the light that your architectures are designing, so that you need less bulbs in your system. It was very interesting. I mean, we all kind of take it for granted, but how changing of incandescent globes to fluorescent globes help in terms of saving energy in your designing of the clinic. Replacing one globe with a compact fluorescent light can save up to 500 kgs of greenhouse pollution and save up to $700 in energy cost in its lifetime in only 8 years of its use. So ask your energy supplier to switch to green power and movement energy sensors for light, etc., which could be a small change but could leave a very heavy impact on the environment. Second is your water efficiency system. These are the salient points under which your design and your clinic can be labeled as green. What type of faucets are you using for water? Do you have a low flow faucet so that you reduce the water flow per se and the wastage, conserve water and reduce water utility and sewer cost? Standalone hospitals, already a lot of them, in fact a lot of our houses have recycling plants for our gardens and watering greens around you. Very important in your hospitals would be waste reduction, getting paperless. A lot of us have files which are plastic files. These are very small changes. Again, as that patient had said, changing your tea, coffee, water mugs, spoon, water bottles, pens to something that could be very small movement, but that would help great in reducing your carbon energy footprint. Also, while making the hospital, the ISO guideline is you can start off by reducing or changing to 50% of recycled papers, reduce your junk, and you could have clinics could even hold collection points for certain items. This was very interesting, such as you could have a dedicated space for collections for patients, not just for our biomedical waste, but even for your normal waste, where they can throw their blister packages, recycling waste amounts. Approximately every 4 seconds, a disposable hat is thrown away in healthcare. I think it's even more than that. if we try to think about it. Lot of time, 19% of our waste is only the one that can be recycled, 11% incinerated, and 70% go into landfills. There are a lot of guidelines, a lot of suggestions on designing papers available where you can change, certain carbon footprint and low sustainable materials to sustainable materials. Designing a green building is something which starts right at the beginning. If you're designing a building or your IVF and ART center, select a team which is, green architectural per se are available. There are teams who label themselves as green architectural
Yuvraj,
teams.
I'm interjecting, clocked 8 minutes.
Yeah, I'm already done.
Yeah.
So just the last points, when designing new laboratories, select design and engineer professions with experience in sustainable laboratory design that are known as green architects. Select locations, consider proximity to public transports and changing points. Use minimalistic space designs. Use building materials considering both sustainability and non-toxicity, and use renewable sources of energy. Also, very important, people have, see where your manufacturers are coming from. All our ART, this was something new to me, all our ART companies provide these annual reports, and annual reports, only 2 companies, interestingly, Cryotech and Kitazoto, do not provide their sustainability reports in the in their yearly parameters. So conclusion is, one, of course, designing your green team is the need of the hour. We can start very small, going paperless, changing your plastics. Patient awareness is only increasing. Please don't label yourself sustainable, but that would be called as greenwashing and you could be cancelled out. As IVF specialists, reproductive health is our onus, and sustainability in case has direct association with reproductive health. Accreditations are available where you can get yourself accredited. Start from the concept stage itself while designing with your architecture so that you don't have to make more changes later on. I think the biggest misconception is that becoming sustainable is costly, but in long run, if you look at the data, you'll come to know that it's more financially viable in long term. I think when we talk about sustainability and world health, Greta Thunberg is something we all remember. She just said that, I'll end with her quote that I want you to act as if your house is on fire, because it is. That's what world environmentalists are saying. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Yuvraj. Wonderful presentation. You touched on some very, very thought-provoking ideas there. Thank you so much. I would like to actually break away from the sequence of the program, because Dr. Sarabpreet has had an emergency in his family and he has requested for his talk to be preponed. His father-in-law has taken ill suddenly. So, sir, Dr. Sarabpreet, I would like to invite you, sir, for your talk, which is Embryology Initiatives to Reduce Environmental Carbon Load. Dr. Sarabpreet, sir?
Yeah, good evening. Please allow me to share the screen.
Yes.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. Full screen, sir.
Full screen.
It's not full screen yet.
And just 1 second. Yeah, so I'm going to talk on execution of embryology initiatives to reduce environmental carbon load. So the idea behind this CME, which was communicated to us, was that we have to introduce the subject, and it's mainly about ideation and not giving any solutions. So we will be trying to introduce the concept of where the problem lies, and in the next sessions we will be looking at the solutions. This is our team. So if you look at the carbon footprint in embryology labs, the major carbon emissions are from AHUs and air handling units and HVACs. Then we have continuously running on incubators, which consume a lot of energy, and even the UPS, which is to maintain a power-free kind of no outages kind of scenario, and they are using cells and which are difficult to discard and degrade. Then there's a lot of consumption and energy consumption goes into running of laminar flows, which are almost running throughout the lab functioning. Microscopes, cryopreservation tanks, which Yogesh is going to look into. And of course, the disposable and consumables, the pipettes we use, the culture media, their transportation, the plasticware, etc. So many things which leave a carbon imprint. So when we talk about green IVF, we will be the journey will seem like going back to the future. So we'll We have to go back and look at it, and that is how we redesign the future techniques which are going to be offered as and when we hold these meetings. Today only the ideation part. So if I look at the net zero emissions, the net zero emissions have to be targeted, but then even, we can't recycle anything. So we have to maintain a sterility has to be maintained, ensuring net zero, achieving of net zero also. So if we talk about infrastructure design, Yuvraj has dealt with it, but again, I think we need to go much more deep into as the CMEs progress. So we'll not touch upon the part which we're not going to delve into. Then again, if you look at the equipment, a simple choice of equipment, you can easily choose an energy efficient equipment. You can go for a small benchtop incubator, which will cut down on the gas consumption, subsequently leading to, these are small changes which become a sea change. If everybody starts using benchtops and energy efficient incubators, it's going to have a quantum effect. It's not about one lab. It's you have to look at the bigger picture. And also, the incubator management has to be taught. You have to bring down the gas consumption. You have to make things more efficient, and there are ways to do it. And if you look at the procedures have to be sustainable as well as cost effective. So you have to minimize waste, which are being generated from the procedures, and you have to innovate to minimize the use of plastics. And at times, just an example that you can prefer glass disposables over plastic disposables. Next, I'll come to again consumables and disposables, which again we have to focus on more and more plastics and how to minimize their use. How to when you talk about plastics, as I said, we can prefer the Indian manufactured plastics, which can cut down the transport and handling also. And to top it all is we have to ensure a great deal of quality control in the lab, and that is how you control quality. And you have to control the lab in a way that things are under control and nothing goes wrong, and nobody is rushing and nobody is fixing the instruments. So that kind of a quality control has to be ensured in the lab, which will eventually bring down so many adversities and the cost, and it will eventually bring down the carbon footprint also. If you look at the IVF labs, they are very expensive and energy intensive places, and they produce major waste. The waste created in our labs, almost just we are able to recycle 90% of the waste. And maybe in IVF labs, the scenario is even less than that. We are incinerating almost 11% of the waste we are producing, and 70%, which is the major chunk, goes in the landfills. So I'll just like to say here that this waste is biodegradable, but nobody knows in how many years it's going to degrade. So, and plastics, they do leave a footprint. So we have to be very cautious, and we have to have a thought-provoking way of working. So look at this lab, how they are, managing the waste. So I would like to emphasize that minimizing waste may not only focus on, I'm not going to focus on how to avoid and prevent use of plastics and the other single-use objects here, but I would like to emphasize on the fact that segregating hazardous and non-hazardous waste properly will avoid unnecessary incineration activity and the landfills. And this segregation of waste, like the lab on the right is doing, so it will have a great impact on the environment, as well as it will somebody who is working in the lab on the left side is going to segregate manually and might get injured, and it can lead to infections and so many other things. So what are the challenges we are facing? Challenges is material selection is a challenge. And when I talk about material selection, you have to keep the energy efficiency in mind, as well as the sustainability. Somebody might, recommend a energy saving motor, which is running the fans in a AHU. But again, if something goes wrong, then, if fixing it might be a challenge, and your AHU might be shut down for 7 odd days just to procure the fan and the motor powering it. So versus a normal routine fan, which is being powered and which might help you save a little cost, but again, sustainability has to be kept in mind. The after sales service, etc., they are also points to be considered while procuring instruments. Unfortunately, we have got 5-6 companies, Cooper and Vitrolife and Irvine and other, but they do not routinely publish any sustainability information, such as the environmental, social, and governance reports. And even if they publish, there is no unified format and no uniform interpretation on the sustainability data which they are reporting. So we should encourage, we should ask for this kind of reports from them, and then this will help us choose the right instruments and the right equipment, right media and consumables for our lab. We have to force them to, exercise extended producer responsibility, whereby they collect their consumables and disposables, and even, they pick up their incubators, and they should have the responsibility of recycling them. Also, I call it non-green practices, the leftovers such as, due to unhealthy practices. And this might arise from lack of awareness, lack of sensitization of the staff, and also, unfortunately in our country, also due to lack of proper training. I was actually auditing a lab, and I found at the end of the day, I asked them, what are these tubes for? Okay, sir, this is the leftover media and the oil which we have for the day. I mean, just imagine, not only they are wasting plastics, they are wasting media, and so this is, and this wastage can be prevented if they make dishes prior and not, incubate media like in tubes. So these kind of healthy practices we have to introduce. So it is all about awareness, engagement of the whole staff, and seeing bit by bit improvement when you make people aware of things. So it's a behavioral change which has to be brought up, which will introduce a sea change in the future, and also ensure a culture of sustainability for the future generations. So now the question for the next meeting is, can IFF be sustainable at all? And what practices will help me go to net zero? And how long it will take me to achieve a net zero? So these are the questions which we are going to address in the future meetings. And I like to end by saying that we help to bring babies in this world, but let's strive to make this world a better place for them to live, for our future generations. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Hope I have not crossed my time. Yeah.
No, sir, you were well within time. Thank you so much for that very crisp talk that you gave, sir. Thank you. And now I'd like to call the next speaker, Dr. Shweta Mittal, ma'am, who is going to be talking about the clinician's perspective towards reducing carbon footprint and emissions. Shweta, ma'am.
So we'll start right away because we are being very timed. Just give me a second. Are you seeing my full slide? No, not yet.
No.
I think now.
Yes.
So we've had a very brilliant discussion till now. The thing is that in India, if we see, most of the IVF labs, the makers of the IVF labs are clinicians. So it's a very clinician-oriented labs and clinics and hospitals which are made. And so it's very important that the clinician should know what is the perspective towards reducing the carbon footprint, which we have understood from Dr. Ritu, and the emission. Now, there would be some overlap. But the question arises is that, have you ever thought how environmentally unfriendly the modern healthcare is? We have heard about greenhouse gases in this sector, which are comparable to any other leading economy. Healthcare's climate footprint could be smaller, which we just heard, than China, US, India, Russia, but larger than Japan and Brazil. So we have some benchmark. And in 2014, it was equivalent to 4.54% of all global emissions, and out of which IVF was contributing to 0.5%, and almost 2.5 million IVF cycles are completed around the world every year, and this number would outgrow every year. So when we are talking of sustainable development, it is defined as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Now, in 2015, United Nations announced 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which covers the whole environmental, social, and economical aspects of our life. Now, out of these four, what are the different aspects? What comes under our prerogative are good health and well-being, decent work and economic growth, responsible consumption and production, and partnerships for this goal. So these are the four aspects where we have to see. When we are talking of green IVF, we are looking at a more environment-friendly approach to IVF, focusing on reducing the use of resources and waste production without compromising effectiveness of treatment. Now, since clinicians hold a very, very important role, so it is very important for clinicians to know that how they can contribute in making this IVF sector a better sector to work in. So the first and foremost is educate the employees about the sustainable approach. So it starts with effective energy and water consumption, efficient workflow organization. It doesn't end there. It includes equal employment opportunities, even looking at salaries and looking at decent working conditions. So when we are talking of sustainable approach, we are not just talking about reduce the waste. It starts right from the inception of the center. The second is the stakeholders and partners have to come in dialogue. How can we all be more sustainable and conscious is the question. And so to include everyone from clinic directors to staff and cleaners in the reorganization of all the processes, both inside and outside of the clinic. Then you turn towards society. Now, many companies are donating 1% of their budget, product, employees' time for local sustainable projects as a part of their corporate social responsibility program. And that would contribute to the company's sustainability plan, reduce the environmental footprint, and make their business more attractive for both customers and investors. And fourth is to talk about your sustainable development steps and avoiding greenwashing, which we just heard Dr. Yuvraj speaking on it. Don't just brag about changing the light bulbs to energy efficient and sorting waste. It does not make your clinic green. What is worth mentioning is the implementation of a clear and diverse sustainability program and being transparent and reporting on it, which is very important. So apart from lab, the clinical side of IVF is also a carbon footprint heavy. Each treatment cycle is energy intensive and creates large quantities of waste. We are using single oocyte retrieval needles, single embryo transfer catheters, heavy use of disposable personal protective equipment, multi-day monitoring of hormones, daily visits to have injections in many centers which are administered. And this all increases, because you're using the transport, offsets, electricity. So there's so many fuel and so much of waste is generated. So the need of the hour is you rethink, you reuse, you optimize. Now, rethink means embracing energy efficient and sustainable technologies. Like in my own hospital, we have solar panels. Our hospital has LED light panels, automatic cutoffs when it comes to water wastage reduction. You can turn off your computers and monitors when not in use, avoid screensavers, reduce AC and heating use in offices. You leave the room, you switch off your heater. You leave the room, you switch off your AC. Very small things what you need to do. Switch off all the non-essential equipments when not in use. Don't think that you are in the hospital environment and maybe you are in an institute and you're not paying for it, but you are increasing the carbon footprint. Then you rethink, embracing energy efficient and sustainable technologies. Go paperless, reduce the number of clinic visits, increase the use of telemedicine. I myself have realized that I have increased my telemedicine ever since the COVID area. Reduce the number of injections used and the visits of the patient to the clinic. Reduce the number of hormone tests. Go on your clinical acumen and maybe you will be able to help the society, help our IVF world. Now, reuse, minimize the waste and extend lifespan of resources. See, look at all the drapes. These are all reusable. Even the probe cover is reusable. So stop purchasing single-use cups and cutleries. You reuse the packing material, ice packs, card boxes. I ask my patients to get all the ice packs back. And it's very important, even to get the carrier bags back. So this is how you can help, making our environment better. Very small steps, baby steps. Use reusable PPEs like cloth caps, shoe covers, gown. Use cloth laundry bags and not just single-use plastic bags. Now, can you see the pile of bags? No, this is all the PNDT papers which were going to a storage and of just 1 year. See the amount of paperwork we are doing in India. So we have to reduce and have to make sustainable waste practices, and IVF clinicians can implement recycling and reuse protocols for waste materials by ensuring proper segregation of non-hazardous and hazardous waste. And of course, none of the hospitals get any accreditation if you're not properly disposing of your biomedical waste, even in your clinics, even in your IVF labs. So this can be done by replacing desk side dustbins with central sorting stations. Now, optimize the supply chain. I'm coming to the end. Streamlining operations for sustainability, have an inventory management. It is very important. Open your storerooms and see, are you over ordering the supplies, which leads to excess stock and which expires or has to be discarded. Working with suppliers who prioritize sustainable practices such as using eco-friendly materials, reducing packaging waste can help minimize the overall carbon footprint of the clinic. And last is, you can go for a certification. You know, an external certification always helps. So certifications like ISO 14001 for environmental management encourages clinics to adopt best practices in waste reduction, energy management, and water conservation. So these certifications also establish a culture of sustainability throughout the entire clinic and supply chain, fostering accountability and driving continuous improvement. So in the end, go green, go sustainable by embracing the principles of rethink, reuse, optimize supply chains. IVF clinics can significantly reduce their carbon footprint and contribute to a more sustainable healthcare system. Shift towards sustainability in IVF is not just an environmental necessity, it's a moral responsibility to future generations. So this presentation was a big eye-opener for me. It's a learning platform for all of us. And I'm sure we can make a step which is more green, which is more sustainable. Thank you. I'm at the end of my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a wonderful presentation, just very, very crisp and so precise. Very, very nice. Thank you so much, ma'am. My next speaker for the day will be Dr. Bharati Dhore Patil, ma'am, who is going to be talking on low-cost IVF to reduce environmental load. So I invite Dr. Bharati, ma'am, now.
Thanks very much. And good evening, all. I'm just sharing. Can you see my screen?
No, ma'am.
Is it?
Ma'am, make
Now?
it full screen. Yes, ma'am. Can see it. Please make it full screen. Yes.
It's okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Congratulations, Dr. Pankaj Talwar, Indian Fertility Society. This is a very, very innovative, new way of thought process completely. With my team, Neha Lad, Kalpana, Aarti, Vidushi, and Reshma, we are going to take the lead low-cost IVF to reduce the environmental load. Sustainable innovations in reproductive health, the importance of making IVF accessible and eco-friendly is our responsibility. So what happens, we all have actually learned today since evening, high energy uses, disposables, carbon footprint, and the data statistics on IVF environmental impact. That all is the load which we are being given. So in that, there's a small part is low cost IVF. And the low cost IVF could be many things with the disposables and everything, but we can have low cost with simply IVF protocols. Can we have a simplified IVF protocols? Actually, the story started when one of my patient exactly 5 to 6 years back came to me. She had 7 IVF failure. And then when she came to me, she said, "Doc, I still want to try, but I don't want now injections. Is it any way possible that I will try with the natural cycle IVF?" And I said, "But the chance would be very, very minimal." She said, "I'm ready for it. But then can we go ahead?" And we started. That's how I said, Dr. Pankaj, we had long back, 5 years back, I thought, and that worked. So it is your mind. You start only thinking that more are the eggs, more is the number, and you can choose. So that actually should be changed. So simplified IVF protocols are very important. Affordable lab infrastructure, as just now said, usable equipments, locally resourced and eco-friendly materials are very important. All this is going to cost. So if you want to have the low cost, you have to individually see each and every aspect. How can we have minimal cost to that patient? So recycling program again will be very, very innovative and includes the low cost. Now, stimulation protocol, because stimulation is only one thing which actually costs you a lot to the patient, because what we do is the IVF cost divides into two whenever you go to any IVF centers. One is for the injectables, the protocols, and one is for the lab and the equipments and all those things, the doctor's charges. But the cost of injections and the stimulation protocol is highest. So low-cost IVF stimulation will reduce the cost of medication simply by the treatment. Patient going, coming up, all this will actually maintain a very, very low cost, and which will maintain even reasonable success rate. So these protocols, how can we use? It's actually the skill, fewer drugs, low doses, alternative approaches to achieve the ovarian stimulation is the key for it. The mind setup is very important. These are the few 6 or 7 ways you can reduce your gonadotropins and your stimulation protocol. We will actually in the next presentation or next our lectures will be there. That time we'll tell you how we can do this all. Natural cycle IVF, minimum, mini IVF, only clomiphene protocol, letrozole-based protocol you can have. You can have low-dose gonadotropin protocols. You can have dual stimulation in the same cycle. You can have GnH agonist, antagonist protocol, and you can have trigger with HCG or GnH and agonist. So this all protocols should be tailored to an individual patient's profile and fertility goals. So if you start looking at these 8 types, we can have the different protocols to the patients. It will reduce a remarkable cost. So increase accessibility for low-income population will be very, very important for the low-cost IVF. Many patients will actually have access to the IVF, because the moment you say the patient, suppose a patient comes and she is between 25 to 30 years of age and she has got a bilateral tubal blocker. Now she has only one option to go ahead for IVF, but she doesn't have money or she doesn't have enough money. And can we have this type of patients to wait for a long time to collect the money or gather the money and go at 35 years for IVF? But suppose if we give them the option of low cost, probably she will immediately conceive because she has only one aspect to it. It will reduce the environmental footprint and it will promote the global sustainability goal, which we will. Another very important benefit, you can take multiple cycles for this patient, and that will give a possibility of increased cumulative success rate, and that will give in turn IVF progress, pregnancy rate would be better. But everything, every green things or every good things has always a challenge. So challenges would be balancing affordability with quality of care. We don't know how much the low cost will have the quality of care. But once you start doing that, as Dr. Pankaj said, I'm the first person to start as a principal investigator for the Indian recombinant FSH. When they came first and they said, we are going to start this clinical trials. So doctor, are you ready for that? I said, yes, this is the need of our, because we are all using that. Let's see comparative. And we could see that. And I know that after that a scientific clinical trial, everybody, 70% of the people are now using that injections which have been made in India. So educating the professionals is very important. Patients also, it is very important. But patients would start gaining unless you start talking to them. Innovations in research to further reduce the cost and impacts has to be thought over. Cost barriers for the patient is very, very big. So we have to think that how can the patient very easily take the IVF cycles? Overuse of advanced technology, not always necessary. So don't go on adding add-ons into your IVF practices unless you think exactly what might be happen to that IVF failure patient. The best generation from single-use plastic, of course, when you have a low cost, you have a low number of eggs, you will automatically use the less plastics, and your all lab structures would be very, very into the economically placed, consumables. So changing mindset is very, very biggest challenge in this field. So with conclusion, low-cost IVF has the potential to democratize access to fertility treatment while reducing the environmental burden. By investing in research and innovation to optimize these processes, healthcare providers can lead the way forward in the future, not only healthier for individuals, but also for the planet. Sustainable IVF is not just a medical advancement, but it is a step towards aligning human well-being with environmental stewardship. So vision for future eco-friendly, accessible, low-cost green IVF for all, so that we can have everyone with the child, or they have accessed the IVF and seen whether they have been able to have the children. So thank you very much. I hope I have not crossed the time.
Ma'am, you were very well within time, ma'am. In fact, you've saved us a number of minutes too there. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation. And I would like to call upon our next speaker for the day, Dr. Shalini Chawla, ma'am. She speaks on the biomedical waste disposal and recycling of products. Dr. Shalini, ma'am, the stage will all be yours now, ma'am.
Hello and good evening all. After hearing such wonderful talk, I do present on biomedical waste disposal and recycling of products with my team, Dr.
Please make your screen full screen, ma'am.
Yeah. So with my team, Dr. Rajvi, Dr. Raju, Dr. Ritu Jain, Dr. Chitra, and Dr. Shilpa. So why IVF is concerned? Because we have all heard it's a specialized, sophisticated space, energy intense, equipments run 24/7. There is extensive use of single-use disposable plastics, paperwork extensive, large amount of gases and liquid nitrogen, and the transportation of cylinders and tanks, which are fossil fuel dependent. Then the clinical side is also a carbon foot heavy, which Dr. Shweta has already covered, that there is a single use of oocyte retrieval needles and embryo transfer catheters. There is extensive monitoring of hormones and clinical laboratory testings, and patients in some of the labs, they do come daily for daily monitoring and injections for the IVF. Now, what impact does it all have on the environment? The ubiquitous use of plastics and microplastics, which are the products of plastics, they cause environmental pollution. Example, polyvinyl chloride and phthalates. These microplastics, they enter the body through inhalation, ingestion, and they cause damage to the body by endocrine disrupting properties. They have effect on entire reproductive health, including fertility, pregnancy, and fetal development, and they affect across multiple generations and not only the index generation. The greenhouse gas emission by the transportation and incineration, they cause global warming, ozone depletion, particulate matter, and potential for the eutrophication. And even this this picture has been depicted by my co-colleagues earlier also. But just to recap, that this is a report by the World Bank by Kaza et al. In 2018, which said that only the 19% of the biomedical waste is recycled, 11% is incinerated, and 70% goes to the landfill. But 85% of the healthcare waste is non-hazardous if used carefully. So now the IVF waste has basically three components. It has general waste, it has biological waste, and it has equipment waste. The general waste has consumables and packaging waste, consumables like plastics and disposable, packaging waste like styrofoam or expanded polystyrene, gel, plastic fills, corrugated, and paperboard. Biological waste has biohazardous material, all human body fluid like follicular fluid, blood, semen, and sharps. And then we have the equipment waste, which is like computers, non-functional or outdated equipment. How do we do the waste management for IVF? the aim should be to reduce the waste by 50%. The old paradigm of reduce, reuse, and recycle is no longer sufficient. It's rather been shifted to prevent, reduce, reuse with a repurpose, and then recycle after all the options are exhausted. With the aim for have a net zero balance, that means the amount of greenhouse gas emission released and removed from the atmosphere, it should be zero, and it should be diverted from the landfills to the energy facilities and should be reused by the composite management. So the first step, so we have to take a baby steps. I have not highlighted those high-end points, which probably we are not at this point to cover, but yes, the baby steps. And to begin with, the first step brings awareness, educate, and behavioral change in the ART community with a top-down or a bottom-up strategy. Top-down is when the top leader sets the trend, and whereas the bottom-up strategies when the people working down takes the initiative and it goes to the higher level. Recognize, elevate, and reward who play a critical role in building a new culture in the organization, and annual sustainability reports and audits. There should be a centralized segregator bins as per the standard guidelines, and there is a proper guidelines to dispose the waste in the yellow, red, white, and blue bins. If it is followed very carefully, that reduces the manpower, that reduces the individual person to segregate it, and then it definitely it reduces the waste also. Centralized sorting stations causes correct segregation of waste and markedly increases with 30% reduction in the clinical waste. Now, there's a concept of circular economy also, where you give incentives to users who return the waste like unused electronics to preserve the economy. Then the general principles is like use cloth laundry bag instead of plastic bag, use cloth caps, gowns, reuse packaging material, ice packs, cardboard, styrofoam, recycle medication packaging, certificate courses like Dr. Shweta very highlighted, ISO 14001, and then a word to the suppliers and the manufacturers. Replace the instructions for use by the QR codes. If we can achieve this, it would be a wonderful initiative as it would reduce the paper consumption. Extend expiry dates and use alternatives to styrofoam like wool packs. Optimize inventory by large quantities on fewer occasions so that the transportation which emits the carbon dioxide and cause green gas emission is reduced, and reduce excessive packaging. Then the non-cold sensitive products such as instruments are transported by sea. By this, we'll be able to keep the carbon dioxide emissions and cost flow down. And then the recycling of the packaging material. Recyclability labels should be mandatory, whether it is recyclable or do not recycle. Then reduce paper consumption, print on double side, use recyclable paper, increase e-prescription, consolidate paperwork, perform audits to monitor the paper use, reduce energy consumption, install LED lights, sensors to activate or turn off ceiling light, turn off computers, monitors, non-essential equipments when not in use, lab procedures, practice good storage management, reduce consumables in lab, reduce the number of syringes used per embryo transfer, minimize dish wastages with more accurate daily need estimates. So with this, these small little changes can bring definitely a good change. And I think it's a very, very good initiative. So I end this talk like with a thought that if we plant seeds with a careful, if we plant seeds with a care today for a green tomorrow in every way. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shalini ma'am. Definitely going green in so many ways. We have to be thoughtful at every step. Now I call upon my next speaker for the evening. It will be Dr. Yogesh Kumar, who will talk on the cryobiology and greenhouse emissions. So Dr. Yogesh, please welcome. And are you there, Dr. Yogesh?
Yes, I'm here. I want to share. You see my presentation?
Please make it full screen.
Just a minute. This is your problem. About me. Good evening, everyone. Something about me.
So Dr. Yogesh, he works in he's the Department Clinical Embryology and Reproductive Principal Academic Director at CERT. So sir, please get started.
Thank you, madam. Where is starting? Yes. So today, that as we were directed not to address the conclusion, we are just simply addressing the situation in which we are dwelling. Just to simple learning from the aspect that what we can understand that what exactly we are going to handle. This is something very important for all of us. We learn, we gone through, and many of the slides are same. So something that we can learn that what we are going to handle. This is important. Along with my team, Dr. Shilpa, Dr. Supriya, Dr. Garima, Dr. Shushma, and Priyanka, we all are going to present our cryobiology aspect to this green IVF project as led by the Talwar sahab. Cryopreservation is being performed by all of us as a clinician or an embryologist. What we are handling gametes, embryos, tissue, growth factors. In case when we are restricted to the embryology only, but we are having our association with the genetic labs also, where PGT is being done with the help of embryo biopsies, plasmacelic fluid, and the spent culture media, where we are handling the carbon dioxide in a dry form. These are dry ice. So both are responsible for the greenhouse emissions. So once, as such, this nitrogen is not the more hazardous, but once it comes to the contact of the oxygen, it becomes the oxides, and when it comes to the contact to the fluorine, then it is fluorinated gas. Then it becomes 300 times more potent greenhouse gas than the carbon dioxide. So this is something we have to learn, that yes, if we are handling something, that we should minimize in a way so that we can handle the resources in a better controlled way. So before going to that, we need to understand the problem. So problem is that it is being manufactured. The liquid nitrogen is being manufactured by distillation, compression, and later on the transportation. It requires much more expenditure only. And once there's expenditure, then we are handling it in a proper way, then it is more addition to the greenhouse gases to the environment. So now what we are having, so they're significantly generated, these greenhouse gases are significantly generated during the production of liquid nitrogen also. So that what we are going to handle, measure are needed to minimize that. More we cannot do, but yes, we can take the measure to minimize the liquid nitrogen loss and optimize cryopreservation practice. So this is not that I'm only saying, that other big organizations have already taken the initiative regarding this. So this carbon footprint, this is already mentioned by my co-speakers very well, and it is liquid nitrogen and dry ice, both those are essential for IVF embryology laboratory. Also in association with the implantation PGT labs and the research lab also, if we are having the research also. Burning off during the transportation, transfer, and the storage add liquid nitrogen waste and the overall carbon footprint more and more. So moving ahead, it is challenging. It is challenging for IVF labs and the cryobanks, biobanks to handle and maintain the ever-increasing repository of the gametes, embryo, and tissue and other. So government is also saying that you need to keep the data and the embryos. There is no certain guidelines, but we cannot discard the embryos by our own. So we need to meet with the challenge which ever increasing. We cannot discard anything by our own unless we are having the consent. So workload is there and again. So the demand for the liquid nitrogen transport is increasing in that proportion, and that is rising the gametes, embryos, and tissue banking, more pressure to consume and the handle the liquid nitrogen, and again call for the supply again and again. So this reduced liquid nitrogen consumption directly contribute to the lower carbon footprint. So this we need to understand. Using the big size of the polystyrene boxes can be changed to the environment, the smaller boxes. So what I am doing, I have started handling, I am using the smaller box, though, because in next meeting we will show you the some of the steps that were taken, that has already been taken by us, just to minimize the consumption at our own level, so that we can we can propose something to others also. So adopting a greener IVF practice can lead to the significant environmental. So we are just not only about the minimizing the effort and the cost effectivity, but later on, conclusively, we are thinking about the environment. So for that, we need to put some collective efforts from practitioners, regulatory bodies, and the other sectors to reduce carbon footprint. How? Moving towards a sustainable, eco-friendly IVF model is essential for the future assisted reproductive technology that we are handling. We are also needed to take the aspect seriously and act consecutively to measure, minimize, and control the net and laboratory PGT laboratory and the other research laboratory to scale and to make the IVF practice a green IVF sustainable approach. How? What is missing? We are trying to put these sincere efforts to promote green IVF practice by challenging in terms of greenhouse gas emission due to cryobiology, and that requires immediate intervention in terms of spreading the awareness and we are encouraging others to adopt the sustainable approach to the regulatory that is a need of our. And what we are missing, regulatory bodies are missing that can address the unseen uh, environmental damage and other and one should come forward to suggest implementable written protocols. It is not that what we are saying, we should be able to implement something the best capabilities we are having. So these implementable written protocols and the certain guidelines to control and reduce the environmental impact, particularly in this scenario, is must requirement. And here, as an IVF practitioner, both me and you or all the IVF clinicians and the embryologists should focus on building a greener and more sustainable approach to IVF. So this is something from me. Thank you so much. Because I did not address anything the conclusion, but I just simply try to address this. Thank you so much.
Yogesh, you have been very sustainable with time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for a very, very crisp, precise presentation there. Now I call upon my next speaker for the evening, Dr. Aanchal Agarwal, who is going to talk on Made in India initiatives to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. So welcome you, Dr. Aanchal.
Thank you so much, Meenu. I'll just start my presentation.
Dr. Aanchal, your volume is a little low. If you could make it a little louder.
Is it better now?
Still looks like you're a little away from your instrument.
Now?
Yes, better.
Better?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so can you see my screen?
Yes, scene, please make it full screen.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this wonderful initiative, and we as a team have been given the responsibility to think about, talk about, and present about the Make in India initiative, primarily focused to reduce the greenhouse gases emissions, which are involved in various processes in the IVF industry, as I'll come to it shortly. So the team consists of myself, Dr. Sangeeta, Dr. Lavi, Dr. Pallavi, Dr. Purnima, Dr. Gitika, and Dr. Pooja. Just in brief. So Make in India initiative, when I first heard about it, it was introduced as a major national program by the Government of India in 2014. And I think it's a wonderful program to build our global presence, to make the country self-sustaining, to help the economic development, and to build our presence globally, to improve our platform. So the program basically aims to encourage domestic manufacturing and reduce reliance on imports from other countries, thereby transforming India into a global manufacturing powerhouse. The core idea is aimed to boost manufacturing, job creation, and economic growth. And this introduces new mindset, new sectors of manufacturing and industry and development, by getting new infrastructure and machinery and introducing new processes technologically and otherwise. So this was a very, very nice logo, which was introduced for Make in India initiative, very innovative. I haven't copied the exact logo because it requires permission from the government. The exact logo showcases the Indian flag in the background, obviously showing our country, and a line which signifies the power and strength behind the concept with the gears. The gears basically giving you an idea that we are going to introduce new infrastructure and new technology. So duplicating the same concept in IVF industry is aimed to boost domestic manufacturing of medical devices which are used in IVF laboratory, pharmaceuticals, which is primarily the hormones and the consumables used in the lab, to make IVF affordable and accessible to all, and to introduce sustainable IVF treatments. So for Make in India, we require technological advancement for innovation and development of indigenous IVF technologies tailored to Indian context, so that we do not have to depend upon the technology and the instrumentation and consumables which are imported from other countries, and we can do our in-house manufacturing. By improving the domestic production of equipment and consumables, we could lower the treatment costs, because the costs involved, because of the currency difference, there is a lot of cost. I remember when I was doing my fellowship, all the media and everything used to come from Sydney or other countries, and that used to cost a lot. But now that we have developed our in-house media, our in-house lot of things we have developed, and that has definitely reduced the cost. Talking about gonadotropins, now that we have Indian companies producing manufacturing gonadotropins, we definitely have a higher supply. We do not have to wait, and the cost has also gone down with comparable efficacy. We get excellent results in our IVF cycles with our in-house consumables and hormones and other drugs. So why not develop our own equipment and infrastructure as well? And this will definitely improve access if the cost goes down, and if it is in-house manufacturing, it will also improve the access in rural areas as well. Now, since Make in India initiative focuses on reducing the GHG emissions, which is the greenhouse gases, what are the sources? I would like to talk about it first of all. There is a lot of energy consumption in our IVF laboratories, since we know that all our equipment like incubators, microscope, etc., they require constant supply of electricity and power. Also, in importing and in transporting our equipments and hormones and drugs, there is carbon emission and there is a lot of energy consumption. The medical waste and the medical supplies, since in IVF we like to use single-use disposable equipment, which is pipettes, the dishes, the consumables, and the catheter, the OPU needles. Since most of our equipment are disposable and they are made of single-use plastics, this also has a lot of carbon emission. As I said, the production and transportation of hormones and medication itself leads to carbon footprint. And the waste disposal, since it is single use, there is a lot of waste which is generated for disposal. Again, it uses the incinerators and the equipment which are highly dependent on energy and are high energy intensive processes. In addition to that, we have a lot of medical tourism, and we have international patients also coming in along with our own patients, which are going from rural areas to the urban areas. So the travel and accommodation also causes carbon emissions and emission of greenhouse gases. How can we reduce these emissions? There are certain things that can be changed, certain innovations that can be made. For example, if we use, manufacture, and develop advanced equipment which are low on energy consumption and which are more optimized, which are more effective. For example, development of incubators which are smaller in size but optimized for temperature and gas control systems, cryopreservation equipment which consume lesser energy, and the lighting system which is much more efficient, and the ventilation system which is much more efficient, so that it utilizes less energy. For example, the LED tubes and LED lights is a very, very good example of this. Also, if we can use renewable energy sources for our equipment and lighting and ventilation, like solar and wind power. India has most of the year, it has lot of solar power coming in. We are in a country where we have the sun shining most of the year. So we can utilize that power in fueling our incubators and equipment and light and ventilation system. Also, wind power can be used for the same. If we do the local sourcing for our consumables and equipment, this will also reduce the carbon footprint associated with transportation. Also, in waste management, we can also reduce the waste which is produced. For example, when I started thinking about this, then I looked around in the clinic and the lab and I see plastic covers everywhere on the gloves. Even when we do ETO sterilization, everything is packed. We get Cuscos and Sims and all the equipment singly packed in single, plastic wrappers. If we can somehow club few of them together and we lessen the use of plastic material which is used. Also, if we can have bigger packs for the hormones, and we can have bigger packings for syringes, use glass syringes instead of using the plastic syringes. Similarly, using the glass vials where plastic vials are available. Also, now most of the hospitals are shifting to the disposable gowns and caps and gloves. We can shift back to our linen, which will reduce the waste production. Also, promote use of environment-friendly materials rather than the plastic material which is used in most of the packing. Research and development should be promoted, which is aimed at creating greener and more sustainable IVF technologies. Also, the daily commuting of patients for checks for hormones and promoting telemedicine. There are many times when we don't really need to see the patient physically. For example, if she's coming for a follow-up just to show us the reports, this can be done on a teleconsult rather than making her travel all the way. If the patient is living far away, then maybe they can go to a nearby center for some ultrasound or hormone test rather than traveling all the way to a far off centers. And we have small setups which are doing diluted work. If they can be clubbed together in a bigger unit, but this has to come from the higher level. If government helps us in making such policies that we can club together and many people can operate in a single setting doing, co-practice. So this can help in reducing the production of waste. Also, awareness is the first step, making the health professionals aware and educating them regarding the need for reduction in carbon footprint. So if we think ahead and if we see that how do we see India in 2047, this theme, Indigenous Technologies for Viksit Bharat. This has been launched for National Science Day in 2024. And similarly, to emphasize the importance of homegrown technologies and the efforts of Indian scientists. So on this same theme, we base our vision to introduce indigenous technologies and equipment in IVF industry and in introducing the concept of green IVF. As we can see that such great technologies like INS Vikrant, like the COVID vaccine, like HPV vaccine, missiles, all these have been developed in India. Maybe 50 years back, we could never think of having these homemade, make in India high technology things. But now since we have achieved this, we can also apply this thing in IVF as well. Similarly, in health care, for example, in diabetes management, we now have the mobile apps. We have the continuous glucometer monitoring, which can be transmitted to a mobile app rather than the patient coming for glucose check again and again. Similarly, other devices can also be introduced and solutions can be given for green IVF. And it's not enough emphasizing that transportation has to be reduced for personnel, for patient, for equipment, for hormones, for drugs, and because it's a lot of carbon emission and it's not environment friendly at all. So we go back to our paradigm of reduce the creation of GHG, carbon, and waste. Reuse whatever is possible. If we can, one very important point is the form filling that we do. If we can reduce the paper forms and somehow make a system of filling the PNDT forms, the IVF consent forms, if they can be done electronically, then we can reduce so much of paper waste which we are generating. And we try to recycle rather than using single-use disposable plastic in everything that we do. So to conclude, promoting domestic manufacturing and distribution of equipment and consumables can provide us with easily accessible, affordable, and sustainable IVF treatment, and on top of it, reducing the GHG emissions and making IVF industry a highly environment-friendly industry. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aanchal. And definitely the emphasis has to be to go hyper-local in terms of manufacturing our own equipment. And we have a very sustainable audience as well. 70 people still on board. So a big clap to all the audience. Now I invite my last speaker for the day, which is Dr. Bindu Chimote, ma'am. She speaks on novel ideas and net zero by 2045. Dr. Bindu, ma'am.
I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am, visible.
Yeah, so it has been a huge task for me to prepare a talk on this topic because I was wondering, I have to go into the future of a futuristic vision and mission. And I was wondering, after all 8 teams have spoken, will there be anything novel left for me to talk about? Well, yes, I would still like to attempt and introduce you to a few new things, new concepts that we have thought about. So here is our team, along with me, my co-team leader, Dr. Meenu Agrawal, and the team members, Dr. Charulata, Dr. Rahul, Dr. Prajananika, and Neha. So what are the novel ideas and how do we go about it? But before that, I was introduced to this term of green earth concept way back when I was a small school-going child, when the Rio de Janeiro Green Summit happened, Earth Summit happened. And just after that, there was an article by Dr. Nana Palkiwala, and we used to quote this in our essays that we wrote in school. We have not inherited this earth from our forefathers, we have borrowed it from our children. Now, this statement is something that bestows a very huge responsibility on our shoulders today to not take anything for granted. Our life on this earth is of utmost importance and of utmost responsibility. And we have been hearing ever since that we have to save our planet. We have to take care that there are no carbon footprints left behind, that we dispose of the waste properly. And the keywords, therefore, for us have been recycle, reuse, renewable, and of course, be sustainable in whatever we do. So, all the previous speakers have already spoken on how we can do this by harnessing solar energy and wind energy, and our IVF clinics can be equipped with such things where you reduce the other sources and use more renewable and sources of energy, and of course safe waste disposal. But then apart from this, what are the novel ideas that we can think of? So first and foremost is the eco-friendly designing. By designing, I mean when we are talking of an IVF unit, can we have that basic structure itself, can it be eco-friendly, and other biodegradable alternatives, and so on and so forth. I'll be taking one major thing and then I'll just briefly touch upon the other things as well. So let us first see what is the eco-friendly designing. And nothing better than going traditional. And in recent years, there has been a growing coterie of architects, community leaders, and officials who have emphasized that abandoning traditional material and the construction techniques that underpin the uses of these is not a sign of progress. You have to stick to the traditional methods, even if you have to progress further. So particularly now when we are talking of climate change, and where how the climate is rapidly changing towards more heat. So you have to talk in terms of how this can be reduced. And all the architects and everyone has said that the manufacture of cement, which is a key ingredient of concrete, and it accounts for 8% of global carbon dioxide emission. Why have I mentioned cement? Because all the structures, all the buildings, our IVF units, whatever, anything that we talk of, the roads leading to our IVF clinic, the IVF clinic itself, everything is made up of cement. So what is cement as a construction material? If you go by this report, it says if the cement industry were a country, it would be third largest carbon dioxide emitter in the world with up to 2.8 billion tons, surpassed only by China and the US. So, I mean, after the 21st century, suddenly we were into rampant use of plastic and rampant use of cement without really understanding the long-term harmful effects of these things. So what, if I say that cement is such a harmful or hazardous material, do we have some alternative for that? So we'll go back to our basic concepts, India calling, labs of the future, and we have to dig from our ancient treasure of knowledge. And what is that? We all remember not so long ago, there were mud and cow dung building material was used, and they are better than cement walls and cement structures. So most of you might think that if I talk of mud and cow dung, am I talking of a hut like this? Are we going to have an IVF unit, something like this? No. The lab of the future can be as sophisticated as the one that you see on the right now, even with mud and cow dung material. So not only that, not only are we talking about a future building of IVF units using this eco-friendly material, but even the existing units can have a coating of mud and cow dung paint for the modern buildings and structures that we have. So why mud? What is the property? So mud has negligible carbon footprints as it is recyclable and can be excavated from the earth. We all know it. It is sourced locally, eliminating transportation from quarry to the construction sites that otherwise would have left carbon emissions. And why cow dung? Is that it is bulky, it has a large ash content, it has low volatile content after burning, its carbon content is low, the burning ratio is low. So mud and cow dung together, they can build up a nice eco-friendly structure without compromising even on the strength. Because if you, some people have said that it will not be durable, it will not be long lasting, but yes, mud and cow dung itself can give you very resistant structures, long-term use structures. And if at all you want more strength in extreme climatic conditions, then we can also add materials like that, locally called multani mitti, also egg shells in egg yellow was added to have more strength, give more strength to the structure. So all this is very eco-friendly, it is very Indian in origin, and it leaves very less carbon footprint. And how? So what are the 7 reasons that we can use this material as a futuristic lab, as a novel idea in our IVF units? These materials are strong, sturdy, and disaster resistant. While going through the matter, I came across a thesis which has been done specially on the use of mud and cow dung and some materials, whether they are resistant. So it has been found that they are even earthquake resistant. So the theory that they will not be long lasting does not hold true. They are strong, sturdy, and disaster resistant. It provides thermal insulation. See, when we make our IVF units, we try to make modular labs to add insulation so that the temperature is maintained. We have natural sources here which provide thermal insulation. I mean, whether it is cow dung especially has the property that it will not, in summer it will make cooler, and in winters it will make more warmer, and therefore provide a very natural insulation to the structures that are prepared using this material. Both mud and cow dung are recyclable, they are biodegradable, they are cost effective, they are compatible with the structures, and they leave less footprint, the most important thing. So this is mainly, like, if we talk of the novel idea and a lab of the future, we can really think of making our, right from ground zero, if we start our structures. And then there are sustainable alternatives. Can we use bioplastics and all that? This has already been talked about. Then about the lab wear, the lint-free clothes that we use in the laboratory. So muslin and jute are the very good alternatives. They are organic cotton muslin, is biodegradable, uses less water in manufacture, does not require use of pesticides, is recyclable and eliminates waste cycling. Similarly, jute is 100% natural and that biodegradable. It decomposes, can be composted easily, and it is an easy crop, very sustainable. It can be grown throughout the year and can be harvested every 100 days. So these are the very indigenous materials that can be used in a futuristic manner. Apart from that, this has already been talked about on how we need to have good accreditation to calculate the carbon footprint and provide green laboratory certification. So this has already been mentioned in previous lectures, so I will not go. But then yes, we have an example where in 2022 there has been a green level certified laboratory. So it's not really difficult. We just need to take baby steps and just start doing it. We have to conserve nature, promote afforestation, and strive towards a balanced ecosystem in the ambient environment around the IVF setups. And we have to begin now without wasting any time. If we have to attain net zero in the coming years, it's not difficult. It is very much possible and very much doable. So with that, I end my talk today. Happy greening to everyone, and hope we can make this earth a better place for the little babies that we bring into this world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, Bindu, ma'am. Very truly said, even Dr. Sarpreet had mentioned that going backwards is actually going forwards. And now I would like all the seniors here, I think Sonia Malik ma'am had to leave us.
Before we, as we're ending, we are now 64. Can we have our cameras on? And can we say hello to everyone for a few minutes? Let's, guys, please put the cameras on and we can say hello to each other. And it's been a very exciting day. A dream come true. I think Rahul is here finally. Rahul, we were missing you. Thank you so much for being with us and making this lovely bulletin.
Rahul, you are muted, please.
Yeah, Rahul, I'd like to hear from you. And
yes, actually, I was.
Your leave. Can we have can we have all the cameras on? I think we are not at all camera shy. We are all fond of camera, then stage and action. So I think we can see so many friends here with good hearing from you. What do you feel about the whole program? All of you. But, after Rahul, I think we can all, in case someone speak, we love to hear from you. Rahul, we want to hear from you. How your experience on making this lovely bulletin? Yes, Rahul.
He is in a area where there is network problem. So Rahul, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. You're audible, Rahul.
Ma'am,
You're
okay.
audible.
First of all, thank
Can someone put the camera of Shilpa? She's texting for a camera to be on. Manisha, Gunjan, Sangeeta. Yes, Rahul, like to say something, Rahul? We can't hear
platform. Now, my voice is clear?
Yeah, clear, Rahul.
Okay, sir. Okay. So I'll start it again. First of all, thank you so much, sir, for giving this opportunity of green IVF, bringing in this concept in India. I think this is for the first time we are discussing, and we are all gathered here together to discuss this a very unimaginable topic which we are not used to it. Green IVF bringing in the policies of conservation. I think in near futures we might be having SOPs also. So thank you so much, sir, for bringing in this topic, and thank you so much, Shweta Mittal ma'am, for having all the teams and gathering all this much of data. We need so much of knowledge for this, and we need to inquire more about this green IVF concept, so that in India also everyone is very much the voice of this green IVF should reach to basic IVF practitioners and all those who are pursuing IVF, looking to pursue IVF. So I think this is the bright field which we are aiming for, and I think we will be hitting this major star soon, and we'll be cracking this concept. So again, thank you so much. And I actually enjoyed for creating this bulletin under the guidance of Dr. Bindu Chimote ma'am. And thank you so much again, Bindu ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rahul. Anybody else would like to share their thoughts? It's been a long journey for us, so we have done it very quickly in 1 month. Any one of you would like to speak? Very happy to listen to you and take your inputs.
I'm Dr. Loveleen Sodhi here.
Yeah.
And I'm actually very, very passionate about the whole idea as such, you know. And going through today's talks, and while I was talking to Dr. Shweta, I realized there are so many things that we are already doing in our lab, which are eco-friendly and, green. And then, of course, there were so many more ideas that came up, and especially, giving away little prizes to people who are listening to you, who are frugal in their ways, changing your protocols. I mean, there's so much else that we can do, and we can talk about it in the future. And of course, congratulations to you, sir, and the entire team for bringing it out very, very beautifully. But there's a long way to go, and we all have to work very hard together.
Yeah, just a beginning. Just a beginning. We're gonna get all the some big industries and pharma groups in our groups, and so that we can actually implement our thought process. Thank you so much.
May I
Sarah,
come in, sir? Good evening, sir.
Thank you so much for being with us. I think you
Yeah.
were the behind making this bulletin.
Yeah, it is what and as a early practitioner in embryology from since 90s, I feel that this is a really need, and we are the thought process itself is very good, and I would like to be a part of it. And thank you everyone for bringing, and especially the IFS team, Pankaj sir, Sweta ma'am, Sonia ma'am, and my team, Dr. Bindu, Dr. Rahul, all are doing a great work, and I'm happy to carry forward this, and would like to even, whenever I'm teaching to my juniors or my staff or something, I always say that doing, minimize the things in our laboratory is the first step towards the green IVF. So that's my thought. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So great. Anybody from
Rajvi,
Sarabpreet? Sarabpreet is our chair embryology. We'd like to hear from you. And Sarabpreet and Pooja.
Dr. Rajvi is there.
Yeah, Rajvi. Where is Rajvi hiding? I can't see Rajvi.
She's there.
So Rajvi, how are you? Yeah, hi.
Rajvi?
Yeah, hello. Yeah, very much here.
Any
So it
input
was
from
nice listening to everybody. Great initiative, and looking forward to the next one where we talk about implementation, because that's where the next challenge lies. So,
Correct.
but great initiative to all those people who thought about it.
Thank you so much, Rajvi.
I mean, right from the time you gave the talk at the last IFS.
Sarabpreet, how about you?
Yes, sir. Congratulations, first of all, to the whole team, especially Dr. Talwar and Dr. Shweta for bringing out this lovely idea. I would like to just focus on, in my lecture also, I said that, green IVF is one thing, and then sustainability should not be a accompanied feature of green IVF. It should be evaluated with due respect that whether the ideas we are proposing, they might be looking green, but they should be sustainable as well. See, times have changed. So some of the things I would not like to pinpoint, but yes, in older times, some things would have looked good. They may not be executable or implementable at this point of time. At the same time, some things are good from the past. We have to again go back, adopt them, and bring them to the present practices. So that sustainability has to be kept in mind before implementing or thinking of anything. That's my humble view or advice, because we have tried various things, and just to apprise you that in our hospital, the basic each and every department when we audit, so the consumable and disposable cost for any department is more than 15%. It goes up to 22% also for some departments. For IVF it is only 8%, and it is like between 7 to 8% in many years. So that is again a part, you should try to audit things. Whatever you measure, you can improve upon. So I don't think we have scope to go below 7 or 8% of the total cost of IVF, the consumable and media cost. So the more you reduce it, it leaves a lesser carbon footprint. But yes, sustainability is the key, and sterility is the key, because recycling may not be the word for IVF in most of the things. I mean, recycling, yes, but not reuse. But yes, judicious use and appropriate use and in green practices, that should be the norm to take it forward.
Thank you so much, Sarabpreet. Anybody else, Meenu? Over to you. Otherwise, anyone would like to share their thoughts?
Good evening, sir. Dr. Gunjan here.
Hi, Gunjan. How are you?
So glad to be a part of this visionary project. I would just like to comment on how wonderful the pace has been with your guidance, of course. Like in 20 days, the bulletin has been there. It's there, and we are ready to read it now. So I would just like that we all keep on moving at the same pace, so that very soon, all of us can benefit from it.
I think, Dr. Bindu, thank you so much. And for all of you, we have 9 months, 9 groups, and 8 bulletins pending. Every month, we will take out 1 bulletin, all of you.
Yeah.
Good for us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Gunjan. Anybody else?
Sir.
Good for us.
Excellent initiative, sir. These small little things like print paper on both sides and reduce the amount of disposables. These small little things, switch off the fan or the AC when not in use. So after reading these articles and, you guide your staff also. So they also have started looking into all these things. So I think these are just the basic and the baby steps which we take. And we move ahead and along with you, sir, to have your vision of your vision of this thing, green IVF.
I think the mission is of making India a great country.
Yeah, true, sir.
That's the actual mission. Vision is a very small one. I think we should be an Atmanirbhar Bharat.
True,
2045 will be, I think, the biggest economy of the world, maybe second. So we have to prepare us for that day. every small step taken now will get us closer to our mission of our PM. So thank you so much, everyone. We won't hold you thereafter. So I'll hand over the mic back to Meenu and Shweta. You'd like to sum it up?
Shweta ma'am, would you
Our honorary
say
faculty
something?
I
general.
think 2 hours of being very sustainable and green. That's how I will put it.
Green mind, Shweta. Green
Yeah.
mind.
So I think we have heard a lot and we have learned a lot, and I think it's time to wind up.
Thank
and
you so much.
I think
say a
Dr.
green-
Manisha would like to say
say a
something.
green
She's
bye-bye.
Manisha is
switched
willing to
on
vote
her.
for me. Manisha, vote for me. Bol de.
No, sir. Actually, sustainability is the key to the future. And I'm so amazed that you have taken it so seriously and initiated in such a short span of time. Of course, we feel fortunate to be a part of this wonderful and very thought-provoking project, and kudos to you. We are learning a lot, and taking up this issue is the need of the hour, and I'm so glad that I'm a part of a team who is doing it. Wonderful session, sir, and looking forward for the next.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
A quick thank you note for everybody here. Firstly, would like to thank Dr. Sonia Malik ma'am, our mentor, sir, Dr. Pankaj Talwar sir, Dr. Shweta Mittal ma'am, our General Secretary, all the speakers of the day, Dr. Shalini, Dr. Bharti Dhore Patil, Dr. Bindu ma'am, Dr. Sarabpreet, Dr. Yuvraj, Dr. Yogesh. Have I left out somebody? I hope not. Dr. Anchal.
Ritu.
Dr. Ritu ma'am, yes. So thank you all. It wouldn't have been possible without all your effort, of course. And a special thank to Dr. Bindu and Dr. Rahul Sen for taking out our first newsletter of the group. And again, cannot say that we cannot do a program without our audience. So all the team members who constitute our 9 green teams, you've been the audience and so many others. Thank you for being here. And cannot obviously overlook the backend team. Would like to thank Farha, Amit, whom we've been, badgering for so many things time and again, and Atul and rest of the backend team. Thank you. Need all your support always for the program going forward. Thank you again for a very, very enthusiastic turnout. So,
thank you so much, Meenu. You have been the anchor of the entire event throughout, right from, to bring it to fruition like this takes a huge, it's a daunting task, and you have coordinated with everyone so well. So a big thanks to Meenu also for doing a wonderful job. And I would like to say, sir, on behalf of Rahul and myself, there might have been certain lacunae we may have erred because there was a lot of matter, and
Forget it. I'm there now. I'm there.
we have tried to compile it all together.
Meenu, gift for you. Green. Well done. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Good night.
Bye. Good night, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.